Now here's our next step. I've got to strip those wires. I've got some strippers here. If you don't have any of these, you're going to have to end up buying these ultimately sooner or later. But on this one, you remember that I cut those off the back side and they were already pre-stripped and they fit back in there. Well, once I took them out with the little screwdriver, I could have used these, right? I was just showing you a different way of what to do. Now we get to strip these. And this is 14 gauge wire, and on these you're not going to be able to see it, but there's different numbers. This one here says 10. Oh, sorry. Here, 10, 12, 14, 18, 16. Okay. So obviously 10 gauge wire, 12 gauge wire, 14 gauge wire is the third one. Okay, so I can look at this 1, 2, 3, and I can hold that on there, pinch it, and then just pull on this like that. Okay, and if I'm going to do about a 1/2 inch. That was just less than a half, so I just grabbed it and took off a little bit more. Okay, so don't be afraid of these wires. You can bend this wire. You don't have to hold your hand in there upside down and all that. Just turn it. I'm right-handed, so I just turn it whichever way I want, kind of give it a little of that, and then just pull on it. See? That looks a little short. I'm not going to get my tape measure out. I'm just going to kind of eyeball that, and I can kind of hold those up. That's about right. Okay. Now I can set all this way if I want. Get ready to install the dimmer switch. Ready to install this dimmer switch, and I look on these wires and I see this end sticking up, and it's about the same as that. If anything, these are just a hair longer, and the wire nuts will cover it, but I'm just gonna cut off the tips of these just to make it about the same length as the wires that I stripped already. Okay, and I can hold that up there and see. If you've never done this before and you're not too good at eyeballing, and see, they gave me 3 wire nuts with the dimmer in the box. I don't have to worry about any wire nuts, do I? See, here's the green. The green wire is going to go with the ground, green for ground, or a bare copper wire that comes out. That's your ground wire. These black ones, does it matter which black goes to which one? No, it doesn't. Not for this particular dimmer, and not for generally most light switches, but not all are the same, so we're just going with this one. They just usually have this green just so people know this is the ground. They could have left this green sheathing off if they wanted. I don't have to cut this back because this is a bare copper wire here, so it doesn't really matter. Okay, I'm going to hold those 2 up there, take 1 wire nut, screw it on there. Hang on to it with your other hand, and you'll know when it's tight. Okay, now I'm going to pull on the ground wire, make sure that it's snug and it's not going to pull out. Okay, so does it matter? Can I put these like that or that? I'm just going to do whatever looks right. This is the top one, so I'm just going to happen to do that because here's the on-off down here and the slide. But like I say, it doesn't matter. Only thing that matters is make sure you got the power off. You see there? Pull on that, make sure it's in there snug. Hold that up there. It takes longer to explain what I'm doing than to just do it. You know, so once you go out and start doing a few of these things, once you watch a few videos, you'll feel comfortable. Okay, that's what we got so far. Now we got to push those back into the box. Now do you see why I needed to rearrange these things to a certain extent inside the box? Because I got 3 wire nuts that got to fit back there. Plus this is a lot thicker and fatter than my initial switch. See how much more or less room I got in the box to push all that in than this. Plus this is deeper too. Not that much deeper, but you know, 1/8 of an inch or more, 3/16 maybe. And all this side stuff. So that's why I wanted to make sure I could kind of finagle things in there better by relocating those existing wire nuts. Sometimes you need to do that depending how many wires are in the box, depending how deep your box is. Some boxes are deeper than others, or if this is a 2-gang switch box or a 3-gang or a 4-gang, you've got plenty of room because you're going to have other switches here. You'll have enough room to put the wire nuts back in there. You know, okay? So let's do it. Time to strategically figure out where these wire nuts are going to go. I think I'm going to make this one into the very back, the ground. Well, it's off to the left. See, I can put it off to the far left, I think. Okay, so I'm going to take a little bit of it and fold it. And I can take a little bit more and fold it. I'm kind of rolling it, sort of. Okay. And then I can take that and fold it right on up there and kind of push it back up in there where I think it needs to go. Well, do the wire nuts have to face up? No, they don't have to face up. They can be facing down, whichever way they need to go. And because that's a bare copper wire, I'm just going to take my pliers. If I had some needle nose, I could take those too and kind of redirect that back in there a little bit, like that. And then there was 2. Okay, now I could take that whole thing and push it all the way in the back and then roll it. Let's try that. Push the wire in. The wires are pretty flexible because they're 14 gauge wire. Okay. And I can redirect that one back in there. I take it and fold it. I don't necessarily have to roll each wire. It just kind of depends. Okay. Now I can kind of push that in, see if it's going to fit. Make sure my ground wire gets pushed up in there. Okay. Looks like it's going to fit. By Joe. Well, it looks like I'm... See that when they cut the sheetrock's kind of pushed the box over ever so slightly. I mean, I could take my sheetrock knife and trim some of the sheetrock right from where the box is. Let's see. I shouldn't really have to do this, but I kind of might make it push in there a little bit easier. You don't want to mess with it too much for fear that you might crack your sheetrock. Okay, I'm going to look at that. See how that's going. There. By that ground wire, and why they have it attached right there, right behind the sheetrock, right where that box goes in there. That's kind of funky. There. Let's get that rebit up there. Okay. I was kind of holding it a little bit. Okay. Work with it a little bit. Here's my mounting screws that came with it.